Zoom class name. So he will be assisting you with the technical aspect of the Zoom. And yeah, if you need anything, you can always contact
Good.
me.
Thank you,
Okay.
Radhikanaga.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Good. Then we can start. We will be together to discuss the 10th canto, chapters 82 till 85 from the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I like, since maybe that's old-fashioned, but I like to have a book in my hand. So I have the book here. And we will go over the verses. I will also refer to some commentaries of our previous acharyas, like last time, and I will also refer to Bhujampala. But first I will try to get. Do I have permission to share the screen?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes,
I
Maharaj.
will see here.
Yes, Maharaj, you can share your screen. Yes, Maharaj, you can share your screen.
Tenth canto. I first get it on my screen and then we can share it. Then we are chapter 82. 82. Just a moment, we are nearly there. Yes, text 1. Good, then we can share. Mahyanatimandasyat Jansanasnakan Saksun Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pustaya Putale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachaya Dasatarani. So I will start with reading verse 1. Canto 10, chapter 82. Krishna.
Recording in progress.
Canto 1, chapter 82. Krishna meets the inhabitants of Vrindavan. Text 1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Ahaikada Dvaravatyam Vashato Ramakrishnayo. Suryo Paragasu Maham Ashit Kalpak Sayata. Sukadev Goswami said, once while Balaram and Krishna were living in Dwarka, there occurred a great eclipse of the sun, just as if the end of Lord Brahma's day had come. So it seems that if you have a full eclipse, it's like the end of Brahma's day. It's mentioned here. So on this occasion, everyone went to Kurukshetra. So in this pastime, we will see that the residents of Vrindavan will express their feelings of happiness when they see Krishna. and their feelings of unhappiness that Krishna was away for so long from Vrindavan. So, after Lord Balaram's visit, because Balaram visited before, they all went to Kurukshetra. Because everyone was there at the Raja's Surya sacrifice. So all the Kurus were there, so it must have happened before the Battle of Kurukshetra for sure. Even before the Raja's Surya sacrifice. It was quite soon after Krishna went to Dwarka that he met with the residents of Vrindavan. In the Krishna Sandarbha from Shiva Goswami, he gives a sequence of events. He said, first there is the Kurukshetra eclipse, then the Rajasuya sacrifice, then the gambling match, then the killing of Salva, then the killing of Dantavrakra. Then Lord Balaram goes on a tour on pilgrimage, and then there is the Battle of Kurukshetra. So from this sequence of events we can learn that the meeting of Kurukshetra did not happen long after the killing of Kamsa. So of course on these verses there are extensive commentaries but yes, Sanatana Goswami. We will read some of them. Text 2. Tam hyatva manuja rajan purasta eva sarvata samanta panchakam kshetram chayushreya viditsaya. Knowing of this eclipse in advance, O king, many people went to the holy place known as Samanta Panchaka in order to earn pious credit. That we'll read also the purport here. That's the Vedic astronomers of 5,000 years ago could predict eclipses of the sun and moon just as well as our modern astronomers can. The knowledge of the ancient astronomers went much further, however, since they understood the karmic influences of such events. Solar and lunar eclipses are generally very inauspicious, with certain rare exceptions. But as the otherwise inauspicious Ekadashi day becomes beneficial when used for glorification of Lord Hari, so the time of an eclipse is also advantage for fasting and worship. The holy pilgrim site, known as Samanta Panchaka, is located at Kurukshetra, the sacred ground of the Gurus, where the Guru kings predecessors performed many Vedic sacrifices. The Gurus were thus advised by learned Brahmins that this would be the best place for them to observe vows during the eclipse long before their time. Lord Parasuram had done penance at Kurukshetra to atone for his killings. Samanta Panchaka, the five ponds he dug there were still present at the end of Dwapara Yuga, as they are even today. So Lord Chaitanya's appearance was an exception. The moon eclipse his moon eclipse was auspicious. That was an auspicious eclipse. Everyone was chanting Hare Krishna, and Lord Chaitanya appeared during that time. This is interesting that things that are generally inauspicious, just like moon eclipse, if we use them for chanting and worship, they become auspicious. Text 3 to 6. read the translation. So, after ridding the earth of kings, Lord Parasuram, the foremost of warriors, created huge lakes from the king's blood at Samanta Panchaka. Although he is never tainted by karmic reactions, Lord Parasuram performed sacrifices there to instruct people in general. Thus, he acted like an ordinary person trying to free himself of sins. From all parts of Bharatvarsha, a great number of people now came to Samanta Panchaka on pilgrimage. O descendant of Bharat, among those arriving at the holy place were many vrishis such as Gada, Pradyumna, and Samba, hoping to be relieved of their sins. Akrura, Vasudev, Ahuka, and other kings also went there. Aniruddha remained in Dwarka with Suchandra, Sukha, and Saran to guard the city, together with Kritavarna, the commander of their armed forces. So, Aniruddha. Aniruddha is Kshirodakashayi Vishnu, and he stayed to protect Dwarka. That Srila Prabhupada writes in Krishna book. It is stated in the Isho Upanishad, Vishnu Tattva cannot be contaminated by any sinful activity. Yet although Lord Parasuram is fully powerful and uncontaminated in order to exhibit ideal character to atone for his so-called sinful of killing Kshatriyas. So for that purpose he performed great sacrifices at Samanta Panchaka. By his example, Lord Parasuram established that the killing art, although sometimes necessary, is not good. Lord Parasuram considered himself culpable for the sinful killing of the Kshatriyas. How much more culpable are we for such abominable, unsanctioned acts? Thus, from time immemorial, the killing of living entities is prohibited all over the world. Today, they have wars, very actual today, but they never think that I should do some atonement for this killing. No, it never entered their minds or brain. Lord Balaram killed Romaharshan, and he also set an example. He asked the sages, what should I do now? How shall I atone for the killing of Romaharshan? So he is Vishnu Tattva. Even though they have to kill so many people sometime, still they feel themselves contaminated. Now they are going from Dwarka to Kurukshetra. Text 7, 8. The mighty Yadavas passed with great majesty along the road. They were attended by their soldiers, who rode on chariots rivaling the airplanes of heaven, on horses moving with a rhythmic gait, and on bellowing elephants as huge as clouds. Also with them were many infantrymen, as effulgent as celestial Vidyadharas. The Yadavas were so divinely dressed, being adorned with gold necklaces and flower garlands, and wearing fine armor, that as they proceeded along the road with their wives, they seemed to be demigods flying through the sky. So imagine this scene. Hundreds, thousands of people wearing gold necklaces, flower garlands, armors, Vishvanatha Thakur said the chariots shone like airplanes of the Devatas. They were full of great power. And Shiva Goswami, the Vrishnis shone with their chariots, etc. And Ribihi means with foot soldiers. The 4 parts of the army were the chariots, horses, elephants, and foot soldiers. They went with their wives. They were like planets in the sky because they were astonishing. Krishna was like the moon. Sanatana Goswami says, the Vrishnis with chariots and 4 parts of the army accompanied by their families shone on the road, especially because they hoped to meet Nanda. The elephants trumpeted because they were full of mada. They were like heavenly clouds. Foot soldiers also accompanied them. They had garlands made of gold flowers on or their crowns, earrings, and other ornaments appeared like garlands. They had attractive armor, flower garlands, and clothing. They were like siddhas in the sky because of the speed of their travel in the celestial chariots. Text 9. In accordance with the scriptural injunctions, the descendants of Vishnu then bathed once more in Lord Parasuram's lake and fed first-class Brahmins with sumptuous food. All the while they prayed, may we be granted devotion to Lord Krishna. That was text 10, I think. 9, yeah, text 10, sorry. So in accordance with scriptural injunctions, the descendants of Vishnu then bathed once more in Parasuram's lake and fed first-class Brahmins with sumptuous food. All the while they prayed, may we be granted devotion to Lord Krishna. Krishna no bhaktirast viti. That's a prayer we can pray during an eclipse. May we be granted devotion to Lord Krishna. That is why they pray during the eclipse. So next time during a moon eclipse, solar eclipse here, that we know what to pray for. Text 10. We will read the purport. So, the second bath marked the end of their fasting on the following day. So in Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada says that after the eclipse, all the members of the Yadu dynasty again took their baths in the lakes created by Lord Parasuram. It seems they took 1 bath before and 1 bath after the eclipse. Then they sumptuously fed the Brahmins with first-class cooked food, all prepared in butter. This is an interesting comment by Srila Prabhupada. What is cooked food and what is raw food? That is from Srila Prabhupada. Difference between cooked food and raw food. According to Vedic system, there are 2 classes of food. One is called raw food and the other is called cooked food. Raw food does not indicate raw vegetables and raw grains, but food boiled in water, whereas cooked food is made in ghee. Interesting. Chapatis, dal, rice, and ordinary vegetables are called raw foods, as are fruits and salads. But puris, kachoris, samosas, sweet balls, and so on are called cooked foods. All the Brahmins invited on occasion by the members of the Yadu dynasty were fed sumptuously with cooked food. That, so they had many activities they were doing. They had to fast, they had to feed the Brahmins, but they went through all these activities only for Krishna, acting for Krishna. That how much of our day are we constantly acting for Krishna? Good question. They, the Yadus, they are living with Krishna. Anukulyena Krishna nu, for the pleasure of Krishna. So they are great examples. Text 11. Then with the permission of Lord Krishna, their sole object of worship, the Vishnus, ate breakfast and sat down at their leisure beneath trees that have cooling shade. Vishwanath, and they sat down comfortably at the bases of trees with cool shade. Jiva Goswami. After describing activities on the day of the eclipse, now Sukadev Goswami describes activities on the next day. They asked for permission to end the vrata and received it from Krishna, since Krishna was their object of worship. Sanatana Goswami. This verse describes other activities on the day of the eclipse. The word Shah means but, to describe other details. Taking permission from Krishna or going to their individual places, they ate for Krishna was their deity. And with the permission, they relaxed in the shade of trees while friends came and went. Text 12:13. So after eating, there was siesta, 12:13. The Yadavas saw many of the kings who had arrived were old friends and relatives. The Matsyas, Usinaras, Kausalyas, Vidarbhas, Kurus, Srinjayas, Kambodjas, Kaikayas, the Madras, the Kuntis and the kings of Anartha and Kerala. They also saw many hundreds of other kings, both allied and adversaries. In addition, my dear King Pariksit, they saw their dear friends Nanda Maharaj and the cowherd men and women who had been suffering in anxiety for so long. Here the Vrajavasis are there. So although we are in the Dwarka Lila, we have already been hearing about the anxiety of the residents of Vrindavan. How were they living in Vrindavan now? Their houses are unswept and full of cobwebs. They are very skinny. Srila Prabhupada said they are perpetually crying. Interesting. This is many, many years. Krishna, how many years was there between the killing of Kamsa and the meeting here at the eclipse? 25 years after he left. 25 years since he moved to Dwarka. So it's a long time. So they maintained only their lives because Krishna promised, I will come back. So finally they are seeing Krishna, Jiva Goswami. Some had come before the Vishnus and some had come after. Some they saw before the eclipse and some they saw after the eclipse. Ushinar means people from Avanti. Kambodjas were from across the ocean. They also saw Nanda and others who had come there from Vraj previous to going to Dwarka from Mathura. Krishna had said, we desire to see our relatives. Having taken this opportunity as an excuse, they came with great longing to see him. Though the word Surit was mentioned in verse 12, it is again mentioned in relation to the people of Vraj, since they were very special friends. The gopis, who were longing to see the Lord for a long time, Utkantitas Shiram, also came. Here and in Vraj, they are described in this way always. This shows their greatness. Sukadev Goswami calls Parikshit with intense bliss. O King, Datta. Now text 14. As the great joy of seeing one another made the lotuses of their hearts and faces bloom with fresh beauty, the men embraced one another enthusiastically. With tears pouring from their eyes, the hair on their bodies standing on end, and their voices choked up, they all felt intense bliss. Datta. So this is not with a meeting with Krishna, this is the meeting with the Vaishnavas. Of course, they are seeing themselves as family members. Shiva Goswami writes, first, a general description of the happiness of the male devotees meeting is given because of the force of the joy or directly meeting each other, their hearts, hands, faces and forms became beautiful like fully blooming lotuses, and they embraced each other deeply. They felt great joy. Their bliss was manifest in more and more intense degrees, first in tears, then in hair standing on end, and finally by choked verses. So such relationships are very rare in this Kali Yuga. Unknown practically. Text 15. The women glanced at one another with pure smiles of loving friendship, and when they embraced, their breasts smeared with saffron paste pressed against one another as their eyes filled with tears of affection. That 16. They all offered obeisance to their elders and received respect in turn of their younger relatives. That after inquiring from one another about the comfort of their trip and their well-being, they proceeded to talk about Krishna. So, in the purport here it's mentioned, the impersonalists have not only no capacity for appreciating, but they are thinking it is complete Maya. Who are the people that are being referred to here? This is referring to the Mayavadis who do Bhagavat Saptas. And they go on and break the four regulative principles because they think they are Krishna. In Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada says, due to such heart-to-heart embracing, torrents of tears glided down their cheeks. The junior were offering obeisance to the elders, and the elders were offering their blessings to the juniors. They thus welcomed one another and asked after one another's welfare. Ultimately, however, all their talk was only of Krishna. All the neighbors and relatives were connected with Lord Krishna's pastimes in this world, and as such, Krishna was the center of all their activities. Whatever activities they performed, social, political, religious, or conventional, were transcendental. Imagine that you are one of them, and you are there. Then what would you actually say about Krishna? So from Vrindavan, only the gopis and the mothers came. The gopas, they stayed back to protect the cows. But Yasoda and Nanda was there. In Krishna book, Prabhupada writes, the real elevation of human life, that this is apart from Krishna book. I don't have Krishna book with me for the moment. But we come back later to that. The whole Uddhav Gita is about all you need is bhakti. Another point in the Uddhav Gita is that you are not this body, and this is stressed over and over. You will be convinced by the time you finish. Are you not this body? Are you not this mind? And this mind is the cause of trouble. But bhakti is the highest. And the highest bhakti is with the gopis. That's stressed in the Uddhav Gita. It is said in Krishna book, the family members of the Yadu dynasty and the cowards of Vrindavan had their mind fixed on Krishna. That is a symptom of perfect knowledge. And because their minds were always engaged in Krishna, they were automatically free from all material activities. This stage of life is called Yukta Varagya, as enunciated by Srila Rupa Goswami. Knowledge and renunciation, therefore, do not mean dry speculation and renunciation of activities. Rather, one must start speaking and acting only in relationship with Krishna. The Srila Prabhupada's made a point here that about all the emotions that everyone was experiencing. The Mayavadis, they don't want to have emotions. Impersonalists are afraid. They even don't want to think of Krishna's pastimes in the spiritual world. They cannot even imagine that you can have knowledge and renunciation by doing activities in this world. So we are getting a glimpse here of the activities and the relationships between devotees. Text, a few comments here on this verse. Jiva Goswami. The general meetings were described. Details are given in this verse. They offered respect to those who were older, received respect from those who were younger. They asked each other about health and mutually talked about Krishna. The general description of the meetings was given. Details are given in this verse. All the Vishnus or the kings or all the people offered respects to the elders and were offered respect by juniors. They asked questions about each other and talks about Krishna privately, somewhat far from others or close to others because of uncontrolled prema. Text 17. Now Queen Kunti met with her brothers and sisters and their children, and also with her parents, her brothers, wives, and Lord Mukunda. While talking with them, she forgot her sorrow. Purport. Even the constant anxiety of a pure devotee apparently is just the opposite of the impersonalist. Shanti. Shanti can be an exalted manifestation of love of God, as exemplified by Srimati Kunti Devi, the aunt of Lord Krishna and mother of the Pandavas. So this anxiety is going on. Duryodhana is still trying to kill the Pandavas. They just escaped from the house of Flag. So it's interesting The constant anxiety of a pure devotee can be an exalted manifestation of love of God. How is this? Can someone answer this? How can this constant anxiety of a pure devotee be a sign of love of God? Any comments? That it is said here, their spiritual anxiety is santi for them, that it's peace compared to the material world. Materialists, they don't want to have troubles in their lives. That when they attain this, then they call that peace. No troubles is for them peace. We can discuss that after the break, that this point, how constant anxiety over devotee is peace. But for a devotee, even if there is a disturbance and the boat is rocking, he remains peaceful. Anxiety for Krishna is spiritual anxiety. It's not suffering. We suffer because we are identifying with a material body and a material mind. But that's not there on the spiritual platform. This anxiety is in connection with Krishna, and it brings them closer to Krishna. Therefore, Queen Kunti said, let the calamities come, because then I will see you. So when troubles come, then we think more about Krishna. Krishna is the only one, the only I have now. So now text 18, Queen Kunti is going to open our heart. It looks like she's going to complain. 18. Queen Kunti said, my dear respectable brother, that I feel that my desires have been frustrated, because although all of you are most saintly, you forgot me during my calamities. So here Kunti is especially addressing her brother Vasudev. Vasudev, who had been imprisoned by Kamsa and so on. That you can read a few of the commentaries. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. I think myself devoid of pious acts, since you, thou so proper in conduct, did not remember me when I was in difficulty. It was my bad fortune. It was not your fault. Interesting. Vishwanath Chakravarti, he clarifies this. It's not that Queen Kunti sees faults in Vasudeva. Shiva Goswami. She addresses Vasudeva since he is superior to others. O elder, Arya, since he is elder, he should have protected her. She addresses him as brother to produce affection in him. O Arya Brata can be taken together. O elder brother, I am unfortunate since you did not remember me during my calamities, though you are the most respectable. Because of being respectable, he should have been affectionate to friends in a suffering condition. 19. So 19. Friends and family members, even children, brothers and parents forget a dear friend, a dear one, whom proficience no longer favors. So, the purport here, Srila Siddhar Swami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur both comment that Kunti does not blame her relatives for her suffering. Thus she calls them most saintly persons and alludes them to their own bad fortune as the cause of her unhappiness. Shiva Goswami, friends, family members, children, brothers and parents should remember a person with affection. The order is according to increasing affection. So Queen Kunti says, it's not your fault. Srila Prabhupada often talks about this. You lose your money. Then the family is not longer your friend. The family is no longer friendly with you. And then your friends reject you. Because that's also in 1088.8 we will see a little further in this canto. This is a poem of Srila Prabhupada. It says, a list of names. I'm now penniless, and at this point everyone has now abandoned me. My own families, my relatives, and even my so-called friends. This situation is indeed miserable, but it simply amuses me. It's miserable, but it means it amuses me, Srila Prabhupada said. I sit along and laugh. Interesting. This is Srila Prabhupada's reaction to everyone rejecting him. In this mundane material world, who are my loved ones? Where have my affectionate father and mother now gone? And where are all my elders and other relatives? That give me news about them now. Tell me who. All that is left of this so-called family is a list of names. I have the same experience. They all rejected me because I was becoming a devotee of Krishna. Most of them are dead today. Just a list of names, that's all. So Krishna was feeling alone. Srila Prabhupada was feeling alone, but he was laughing. This is the material world. We know that Krishna did remember Kunti. What did Krishna do to remember Kunti when he was in Dwarka and she was in Hastinapur? He sent Akrura to find out what was going on. And she was telling Akrura everything what was happening. How Dhritarashtra's sons were always planning to kill them. She was like a poor animal, a deer among several tigers. And she was praying to Krishna at that time. She was saying, oh my dear Krishna, you are the supreme mystic, the real well-wisher of the universe. Govinda, at this time you are far away from me. I pray to surrender unto your lotus feet. I am grief-stricken with my 5 fatherless sons. I fully understand that besides your lotus feet there is no shelter or protection. Your lotus feet can give shelter to all aggrieved souls, because you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can be saved from the clutches of repeated birth and death by your mercy only. My dear Krishna, you are the Supreme One. I can simply offer my respectful obeisance to me. Accept me as your fully surrendered devotee. We find in many prayers of the same thing we find in many prayers of devotees. They say, I'm your surrendered soul. Lord Ram says that if everyone says that, then I immediately will give them full protection. And the kings, when they were in the prison of Jarasandha, they also said, we are now your surrendered devotees. Please liberate us. When you pray to Krishna, it is good to say, I'm your surrendered devotee. Please use me as your instrument. Now, text 20, 21. Text 20. is Vasudev's reply. Aroused by Kamsa, that's first text 21. Shivasdev said, Dear Krishna, dear sister, please do not be angry with us. We are only ordinary men, a plaything of fate. Indeed, whether a person acts on his own or is forced by others, is always under the Supreme Lord's control. 21. Aroused by Kamsa, we all fled in various directions, but by the grace of Providence we have now finally been able to return to our homes, my dear sister. So interesting how they talk about providence. But actually, providence is Krishna. Krishna killed Kamsa. And then they were able to return to their homes. The gopis, they will bring up their point later. And Krishna will say, it's providence. It is fate. It brings people together and separates them. They will reply, yes, we know who providence is. It's you, the gopis will say, the Supreme Lord. And what would Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj always say when he made plans? He would say, Krishna willing. So Vasudev said, we were in jail, what could we do? We just got out a few years ago. Of course, Krishna did not forget Kunti. He sent Akrura, and later on the Pandavas, they were going to exile. He would always be with them whenever they needed his help. So that's the first section. Now, are there any comments on this first section? Or on that point of the constant anxiety of a pure devotee? So any discussion? Well, yes, Bimla.
Just a very small comment. Bhakti is not for escapists. That's all I can say. It's like the general understanding, but that also carries on. I see even for the struggling sadhaka. At the end of the day, these are the deep misconceptions that like is attached to, and like from there all the questions come whenever there is a miserable situation. Immediately, like it's like a kind of a rebellion that comes from inside. Why like Krishna should be then like it's like quoting all the verses from the Bhagavad Gita from my own selfish perspective. Krishna said, Yogakshema Bhamyam. Krishna said, Neha Bhikamranasti, Pratyavayana Vidyate, all these things. So, very zero. So, and that possibly, and that is obviously because the first step of the mathematical calculation is wrong. That I'm not the body, I'm the soul. But whatever protection I'm expecting from Krishna is like the bodily protection of like body or the extended concept of the body. Krishna always protects the soul, which means the bhakti. But that might not be so much. I might not find that so much useful at that time. What I find more immediate and urgent is that how can he protect my in quote unquote self-interest, my false ego, things like that. And these conversation what was going on for not just for the Pandavas but for the other members, we see nobody is spared in this material world. That's all I can say. That's all I can say.
That, this is an interesting point about what is real protection. I just am preparing a part of the fourth canto, the story of Puranjan, and Narada Muni instructing King Prachinara, yeah, I forgot his name, that and there this point comes up. It's like someone who is interested in health. He wants to maintain his health nicely, and is going to do exercises, make sure he doesn't eat too much, or that associate with people who are skinny, who are not fat, and so on. So it's doing everything for the health. That, but a devotee does everything to keep his consciousness pure, to keep it pure, and to keep Krishna in his mind, and he accepts what's favorable for bhakti, and he rejects what's unfavorable. So that is what we are, the consciousness. And the protection is the protection of our consciousness, really. That's the real protection. But we think of other ways of protection. That, because it's contaminated consciousness that keeps us in this world. That. Any other comment? That so we will hear further about Krishna's meeting with the Vrajavasis. Will be very interesting. Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can I ask a question? Raj, earlier it said that that Kunti was not accusing Vasudeva. I think in one of the text 19 commentary, in the purport. Kunti doesn't blame. If she's not blaming and accusing Vasudeva, then why does Vasudeva here says in text 20 he says, please, dear sister, please do not be angry with us. Earlier it said that she was angry with Providence, or she was resentful of the Providence. But here Vasudev says, do not be angry with us. How do we understand this, Maharaj?
Yeah, that's Vasudev's perception, and that he said, yes, we wanted to help you, but we could not. We were also in trouble. That's the point he makes. But that is Vasudev's perception. But Kunti is not saying to blame that. But of course, she feels also the separation for a long time from Vasudeva and so on. And and she said, yeah, we didn't hear from you. So she's missing also their association, and she blames it, yes, I did not have their association because of providence. And devotee sees providence, yeah, we get what we deserve because of our own past action. The fault lies in me. Totenu kampam samikshna bhujant mai varnakitam vipakam. Het vaak voorbeer voor dame steeds weet je mukti badese daarbak. I've been suffering because of my own fault. That's also Queen Kunti's perspective. And yeah, she's expressing that she was missing their association. Does that help?
Yes, thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, thank you, Maharaj. Krishna for
Hare Krishna Maharaj,
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams.
what we see in this particular
What we
section
see in this particular section
about
is
different kinds of
about
devotees,
different
with whom
kinds of
Krishna is
devotees with whom
reciprocating.
Krishna is actually reciprocating.
And each of them have
And each of them have
different kinds of a
different kinds of a mentality and inclination in terms of his
And
relationships.
Krishna tries to satisfy
And Krishna tries to satisfy everyone.
And
He doesn't give any exception
and
on
that's
this.
one aspect.
And that's
The
one
second
aspect of it.
what
The
I see
second
is
one
like
aspect, what I
the
see
way in
is
which
like
the devotees
the
are
way in which
expressing
the devotees are
their love for
expressing
Krishna.
their love for
Even if
Krishna.
there is some
Even if there
complaints,
is some
that is
complaints,
also expressed in a way
that is also expressed in a way that
in
Krishna,
terms of
or
Nakunti and
in terms of
Vasudeva
Nakunji and
relationship, what we
Vasudeva
see,
relationship, what
it's
we
not
see,
actually offending.
it's not
but
actually
rather making a
offending,
remark.
but rather making a
And we
remark.
see that
And we
previously
see that
in the earlier
previously
chapters,
in the earlier
Queen
chapters,
Kunti and
Queen
Vasudeva's
Kunti
relation
and
was that
Vasudeva's
Vasudeva was like
relation
a
was that
fatherly
Vasudeva
figure.
was like a fatherly
And
figure.
so, how could he
And
just
so,
give
how
up
could he just
all
give up
his
all his
responsibilities towards Kunti,
responsibilities
especially
towards
when
Kunti,
she
especially
was a
when
widow
she
and her
was a
sons were
widow
just
and
left
her sons were
without
just
any
left
kind of a support?
without
That
any
was the
kind of a
kind of
support. That was the kind
situation
of
he was actually remarking.
situation he was actually remarking.
And we see
And
furthermore
we
in
see
the later part of
furthermore
this
in the
section
later part of
that
this
there are
section
different kinds of
that there are
saints who
different
will
kinds of
actually be
saints who will
getting
actually
into
be
relationship
getting
with
into
Krishna and how Krishna
relationship
will
with
deal with
Krishna
them
and
as
how
well.
Krishna will deal with them as
So
well.
there's a very interesting
So
chapter
there's
in
a very
which
interesting
in one
chapter in
place
which
we can
in
see
one place
all
we can
kinds of
see
devotees
all
who
kinds of
relate with Krishna.
devotees who relate with
And
Krishna.
it's really wonderful.
And it's really
Yeah.
wonderful.
Thank you,
Thank you,
that's a
Maharaj.
very nice comment. Yeah, this chapter is full of this nectar of relationships with Krishna. We have all our personal relationship with Krishna, which has to be revealed yet. But here we see it in action, how Krishna is the center of their talks. Because when Queen Kunti says, yes, she says to Vasudeva, it's providence. But our acharyas in the purport we heard, providence is Krishna. so they are talking about Krishna factually. That's the center of their talk. Could we hear more about this after the break? It's now 5 p.m. nearly in India, and let's resume again in 50 minutes at 5:15 in 50 minutes. Thank you. Hare Krishna. See you soon.
Recording stopped. Recording stopped.